here with Mike with another weekly video and writing tip.
This is about how to start a story. A lot of tyros are uncertain how to start a story in a compelling way. And I've learned from practice and experience that there are surefire ways to start a story and there are ways that aren't so smart. For example, I would not start a story with a quotation from one of the characters, because suddenly you're just plunged into a situation where somebody is saying something but it lacks context. In comic books and film, we talk about an establishing shot. An establishing shot is an image of all the protagonists involved in that scene in the same place so you can see their physical relationship to one another. It's very important. And if you're writing a comic book, you should have an establishing shot on every page, unless it's just a series of talking heads. So one of the surefire ways I have found to start a story, whether it's a short story or a novel, is with a description, a physical description of where the story is taking place. For example, the sun beat down like a hammer on the high Colorado plateau. The Indian Affairs Office was a log cabin that had been put together using pitch and mud and was in a state of disrepair. A thin column of smoke issued from the stone chimney. Inside the cabin, the Indian Affairs Officer, Lieutenant Russell Haig, faced two Pawnee Braves. That's just one example of how to do it. And the reason I do that is because when you set the physical parameters, when you describe the setting, you draw the reader in. You can use your words to set that scene. And those of you who are cinephiles like I am, who's got to watch a movie every day, you know that when you start a scene or a movie, it often begins with a long shot of the city, so you know where you are. New York City, long shot. You hear voices talking, then maybe you have a jump to an apartment building, and then you jump inside. So you start from a distance and you move closer and closer. That's why I like the physical description as a way to start a story. Should you start a story with a quote? I wouldn't. Should you start a story with a philosophical declaration? Well, you can, if you're a really great writer, like it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Call me Ishmael. These are two of the most famous opening lines in fiction. And in each one, they establish a voice, the voice of the narrator, without quotation marks. Because when you do it with quotation marks, the reader feels a little out to sea. But generally, I would say, if you're going to start a story, and I'm talking just prose here, not a comic, just prose, a story or a novel, you can't go wrong by setting it with a physical description. When I was young, I tried to write a novel right out of college, and I sat down and banged out a bunch of words, and it wasn't a novel, it wasn't even a good story, because I had no plan and I didn't really understand what constituted story at the time. But very often when I was writing articles for newspapers or short stories, I would look over my material and I would find that the first paragraph I wrote invariably went in the trash, and the story actually started with the second paragraph. It's like you're clearing your throat a little bit so that you can get to the good stuff. That doesn't happen these days because I'm pretty sure about how to start a story. But beware of that. If you're a novice writer or you're just getting started, it's okay to write a paragraph that you're not going to use because it eases you into the actual story. The important thing is that you write every day, and that you carry a tablet and a pen at all times.
All right, thank you. So our goal again is to do these each Wednesday. It may not always exactly happen every Wednesday, but we're hopeful. And thanks for listening to these writing tips from Mike Barron. Till next week.